And how's come with live streaming the workshop?
I didn't have a problem with live streaming it, just so everybody can see. All righty. All right. Good afternoon, I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of County Commissioners. And today is July 19th, 2023 at 1:11 p.m. And I will convene this workshop to order here. Our workshop today is for the purpose of going over the Custer County BOCC and County Manager Policy Manual. This is an open meeting. Although public comment will not be taken during this workshop, that will be allowed at the meeting that takes place at 2:30 p.m. today. Thank you. You would silence your cell phones if you haven't done so already. And if you would join me for the pledge and the invocation. Bill, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Join me for the invocation. Father, we come to you today, and again, we pray that as we come together here to work on this, that you would be with us. We ask for your guidance. We ask for your wisdom. And Lord, we just ask that you would work with us and guide us in this, and that you would just help us to conduct ourselves in a worthy manner. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Okay. Let's those present here during the work session would be myself, Kevin Day. We have Commissioner Bill Kenda, Commissioner Tom Flower, and we also have our County Attorney Dan Slater. We have HR Finance Director Braden Wilson, and we have Gayla Day and what more. So I took care of the introductions here, I guess. And no one online. Okay. Our purpose to be here today is to work on this Custer County BOCC and County Manager Policy Manual. And you guys all have that document before you. And I have I know that you had stated earlier that some questions about what we could or could not do on that. So I asked Dan if he could for his opinion on that. And because we are having a workshop to work on this manual, and so I guess I would let you state your opinion on that, sir.
Well, from my perspective, number one, it's still an open meeting. We're not keeping anything from the public. This is like an executive session, so the analysis is different. The whole point of a workshop is to kind of, work around, come up with maybe language that we think may be different, but we're not in this meeting adopting a policy manual. We're just kind of having a discussion about changes that we think would be appropriate for the policy manual. I don't think there's any problem with doing that. Any motions to adopt the policy would be inappropriate in this meeting, but it is on the agenda for the 30 meeting. But in terms of just editing the proposed or the draft that's in front of the board, I don't see why that would be.
Good, I'm glad you brought that up because it was my understanding from talking to other people, and I thought we adopted the purpose of a workshop is to get information on what's presented so that in an open meeting we make decisions. And so asking for information and confusion thing is a bit different than saying, well, all right, let's move paragraph C to paragraph D and and exclude X, Y, and Z,
Well,
depending on what it is.
in my experience in other governmental entities, also required of all the Meetings Act. It is not uncommon to have a workshop to kind of work out the language of, say, an ordinance. I mean, for instance, I know that the community I'm working with right now is working on a short-term rental ordinance, and so they have workshops that kind of help them.
And they're open.
And they're open. Yeah, I mean, that's the key here is if this were a closed meeting or an executive session, that would be maybe a different question. But we provide-
Just keep us from both something.
Yeah, yes.
Hello, I see you made it today, so you're back.
And you can announce her, we have a guest now.
We have another guest in the room, Carol Byinger is with us now, so. You missed audience introductions, so. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we have before us, I think everybody's got it. Yeah, I guess you're working on hard copy.
I gave up on the computer.
All righty. A couple of us have one open that will be being edited as we look at it on the computer.
Okay.
So,
I got an extra hard copy if anybody wants.
and,
Oh, mark it, the 100%.
There.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got it, it's got it marked.
okay, so I will start us off. I guess we can go through and, we'll just start at the beginning and, work our way through. So first we have our title page, our table of contents. And we'll go to the introduction page, so that will be top of the page. 3 is introduction. I guess I would ask what everyone's preference is. Do we want to go through and read a section and then go through it? Do we want to just come up with edits that we think should be done by and not read it out loud, or how would you guys like to do that?
I think we just go through it, and if we see something, we talk about it.
So without reading the sections?
Yeah,
Okay. And
one of the,
well, somebody shared the screen on there. Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
well, I saw it, yeah, I'm gonna find it again.
Does anybody have anything that they would like to address in the introduction on the top of page 3?
Is it correct to refer to elected officers or elected officials? I get, I think what your wording, the intent was there. First sentence, second paragraph, introduction.
Yeah, I think probably officials is a better word.
We really don't elect an office. We could put offices of elected officials, but
I think.
But really,
change it to
the officials, yeah. Because that's really where our purview stops, right? We put the officials themselves.
Anything else in that first section that anybody has? Okay, hearing nothing, let's purpose of the Board of County Commissioners.
Maybe just back up a second, because you got me thinking about it. On that second paragraph Tom mentioned before. We have BOCC acknowledges roles and statutory responsibilities of the counties. We have, the BOC recognizes we have authorities and responsibilities ourselves. And as do the other elected officials, they have authorities and responsibilities as well. The roles, what does role mean? That would be something I think we have the role authorities and roles and authorities and responsibilities. So did the other elected officials. Stated that.
So you're suggested that it is,
Instead of roles, I put authorities. There are statutory authorities and responsibilities that the BOC, that the commissioners have, as well as do other elected officials. That's just a statement of fact.
can I see that?
It's just right.
See what you wrote?
See the advantage. I didn't write anything.
Oh, you didn't write
I'm
it.
just asking the question because you got to think of that. Because I hadn't, it wasn't a big deal.
The BOC, right now it states the BOCC acknowledges the roles and statutory responsibilities of the county's other elected officials. So we're not speaking of the BOCC's
See,
roles and
you have
responsibilities.
statutory authorities and responsibilities.
So you want to change, you want to move statutory before where rules is now.
Yeah, I would do
You
that
change rules to,
to authority. I mean, it really makes it correct according to the statutes. That's all. And it acknowledges that the other officials have the same thing.
So what I am seeing here now is the BOCC acknowledges the statutory authority and responsibilities of the county's other elected officials.
Yeah, we acknowledge we have them and they do too.
well, but the point of this paragraph is primarily
To recognize the others.
yeah.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's all I was pointing out.
The whole.
Be consistent with
yeah,
who we
next
think we
section
are.
goes with what-
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
All right, is everybody good with that edit? So the BOCC, it now reads the BOCC acknowledges statutory authority and responsibilities of the county's other elected officials. Then moving on to nothing contained in this document is intended to interfere with the responsibilities and duties of those elected officials, et cetera.
Authority. Yeah. Good enough.
Okay. Purpose of the Board of County Commissioners.
Quick question, Brady. Did you copy this out of somebody else's or is this, so it's a class, this is a typical, I'm not gonna argue with it. This is what classically county commissioners do. Is the care for county property and things like that. That's what they got in Teller counties or Lincoln County or wherever you go.
Right, and I think that's the important thing to be looking here is what truly. What are truly our responsibilities or the responsibilities of the board. Specifically for Custer County, but
Yeah.
I tried to highlight the places where I wasn't sure throughout this document. So if there's anything.
So I would ask Dan, so we are the legislative body of this county, basically. And so I want to make sure that that's captured here. We just don't do weed control and collect taxes. We do resolutions to fix problems.
Well, I think that's captured in the first line, the main policy making body of the county. The policy making inherently legislative.
And in the second paragraph, it does spell out that it's the administrative arm of government to serve as the legislative administrative body government.
Okay.
Corporate phase.
I jumped ahead and looked at the bullets because you were emphasizing the bullets. Carol?
Can I ask you, can I participate in this workshop?
We were not going to take
No.
public comment during this section.
You can do it afterwards.
So,
Well, we've got a cousin. who
Oh.
did it too.
So in the third paragraph, third line, should function have an
My
S on the end of it, be plural. Yeah, functions.
So, yeah. Then. So you, just back to the legislative thing, finish it. Did you, you're good with it in the paragraph?
Yeah. From my perspective, it's pretty.
But
Because the bullets don't spell out everything, it's the other powers and authorities that want to have you.
That's right. That's what I was concerned about. Okay.
were we down to the
Yeah.
bullet points now? On that, or where are we at?
yeah, I wondered about first sentence, commissioners have a responsibility to provide fiscal leadership of county operations through the adoption of the annual budget. If we're speaking specifically to the budget, right?
What sentence are you looking at?
The first one, I was just questioning the term leadership there. Instead of visible obligation or something else, if we're talking about service. See you later.
You can take this home if you want.
No,
I don't need it.
thanks. I just think a workshop, if there's, you got one person, you got Galen, you got one person here. And I've got valuable information, because I've lived this, I've walked it, but you don't want to hear it, so.
So,
Good luck.
I do. want it.
But by the sword, die by the sword. There's 20 people in here, we wouldn't allow it, right? Got a great point, but that's what we decided, so. So just question if leadership was the correct word there.
Where, Tom?
First sentence,
Oh,
page.
3 or commissioners have responsibility to provide. Okay.
Fiscal obligation or,
Well, I think probably reality is that that's how you exert some sort of input into the other offices and, quite frankly, elected officials. And that leadership probably is the right.
okay. Set the tone
Right.
for the county. Okay. Good.
County sheriff wants to hire 30 deputies. It's great, but the problem is you guys have
Right.
so much money and it's a leadership by dividing that money in. So that we don't have one staff in the assessor's office is very good. So,
Um. So we, by statute, have to provide, an airport. In the absence of a regional airport, which we don't have. Should that go on this list or no? I mean, to me, it's the same as road and bridge, we control. We've already mentioned public health in here.
So that means establishment, maintenance of a regional airport.
Airport, I don't think it'd be considered regional, but, yeah. Let's see.
Establishment.
Oh, yeah. Establish and maintain, county airport or.
You're asking to put that as a bullet, is that what you're saying? Well, we are accountable to provide the airport. So do we mention all the other things we're accountable for that too, for other statutory things?
Pretty well spells it out. I just thought that was one thing that was statutorily required.
We are,
Well, it's not supposed to, it doesn't have to be an own.
It's true.
otherwise you'd be chasing it.
That's why we've been raised.
Fair enough.
And the statute is noxious and control. Not, people say, well, come spray my weed. No, we can't do that.
Okay.
And then I was in the state statutes this afternoon for a little bit on this debt line. My understanding was, and I see that it's incurred debt based solely on a specified revenue stream, right? Can county governments incur debt? I was led to believe no.
Agree with you without a vote.
Okay. So if the second to the last bullet is either inaccurate or I don't understand it when it says incurred debt.
Well, I think maybe if we add when authorized by the voters. Or, well, and see, now we're getting into.
No, you don't want to get so specific. You're gonna be
I
chasing.
mean, there are certain circumstances where the county can incur debt. And that's true, but also
Leases.
Yeah,
But that's year to year, though. You can break a lease. That's not, you're not helping. But
You know, I guess that's really what your definition of debt is.
that's right.
Right.
You can't commit to a 30-year. debt.
But if, let's say the county were to operate some sort of water. Treatment facility or some sort of special operation. That was. Sorry, the word is escaping me, but in that case, the county commissioners could incur debt. Without. In certain circumstances such as that. But, so I think it's still accurate. Because again, it's this general list, this isn't, we're not doing these things, it's supposed to kind of be an introduction to what the county commissioners again do.
Well,
Talk about bonds later too, which
yeah,
historically,
bonds and GOBs is what I read in statutes about the debt. But just to go out and borrow money to build a new administrative building here, I've always understood that we could not do that.
That is correct.
but maybe you correct this in the parentheses instead of saying based solely on specified revenue stream, just say based solely on.
How about just subject to taker restrictions?
Subject to voters approval, or something.
How about just subject to taker restrictions?
Taper's going on. They're trying to jump around. But anyway.
Nobody's getting rid of taper.
But based solely on specified means it was authorized by the voters at some point. If you incur something other than what the revenue stream is that we currently had with our current taxing structure.
How about if we just say incurred debt subject to great taper restrictions? Just leave it at that.
It's pretty broad.
And
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
true.
the end of the sentence.
That would be better. Because we can't specify everything in this short of a sentence, make it right.
additional information, including statutory references, can be found in commissioner input.
Good. And we're gonna hold off on the core priorities.
Bring all those books that are sitting in the building.
Yeah, they might have something to say. about
Well, that's,
Yeah,
that's
unless-
the same,
unless you
we're
guys
held to
have-
those statutory requirements, that's what doesn't matter.
Unless you guys have, core priorities and strategic objectives, there. We're gonna put in there.
I do not.
No,
Didn't know if you had some or,
So I think that's the commission, board of commissioners.
So governing process in, what's that?
wait a minute, you don't want to leave that determined in Q3, but that's in a handbook. It's supposed to be carrying over to year to year.
Well, we would update it once they were adopted and then.
Well, that's the point. You don't leave this sentence in there if we're gonna adopt this as a handbook.
I think it would be nice for the public to know
Yeah.
if the commissioners are planning on.
Well, that's fine, but you need to make a general statement here that would be applicable. And it says core priorities as established year to year by the commissioners. You know, Q3 only it isn't applicable.
Yeah, what if we're in 2027?
Right, this is our handbook. It's on the
Yeah.
shelf and people are pulling it out. and
So
looking at it.
I guess the point was, this is the initial placeholder to put priorities and strategic objectives. It's not saying that we only determine it once.
Right,
It's
and
just
but
that this is when we will determine the first one.
But see, a handbook is a document that needs to be permanent. It's a living, it's not a living, it's not gonna be changed year to year, mind you. It's just a point. And what changes is what we said, we're gonna have priorities that will be accountable to core priorities and strategic objectives that are continually worked by the commission. That's our job. And that's the statement. We don't have to put in there and we're gonna chase mining or we're gonna chase ag or whatever.
be supplied by BOCC as a placeholder.
As we're, it's really not even a place, it's a good statement, says that's what our core priorities and strategic objectives are determined every year. And looked at every year to be guiding the county, that's what we're trying to do in the handbook.
It's just based on the examples that I've seen, is they had a straight in here, what those
Okay.
core priorities were.
But
So
that
that's
doesn't
why
mean we have to do it.
So for right now, as the placeholder, Dan has suggested as adopted by the BOCC from time to time,
How do you know Dan did that?
because it was Dan's writing.
It says it on the.
Right
we made
side.
the proposed edit.
Dan is green, Gray
Oh.
is purple.
Got you.
So I don't have a problem with that. This is, you want to keep it generic enough so that if you're not obligated to have a meeting like this every year. And say we're going to do something. That's my point. And there's lots of sections like that. We could get specific, but that's a danger.
So are they going to appear in this document when we develop them?
I wouldn't.
Like that's a whole other document. And that's almost a master.
Sure.
It's not a master plan. It's almost that
And it
same
could
kind of
change from
concept.
administration to administration.
See, we are accountable for core priorities and strategic objectives. It's part of the process.
So we're good to strike out to be determined in Q3 and inserting as adopted by the BOCC from time to time.
Or is that as adopted and updated by the BOCC? I don't know. Makes sense.
Okay. Everybody good there?
Mhm.
Governing process and commitments.
We're gonna take this section by section.
Say what?
The governing process and commitment section is off the board.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take the first section down to BOCC's roles, so.
Um,
Anything there? On those down through that first set of bullets. Okay, we'll move on to BOCC's roles and responsibilities.
Why is the Board of Human Services, Board of Health, all that, why is that?
Wasn't, I didn't know if the Board of Human Services existed. Yeah, that just some question.
It does,
So I just,
it's not applicable. That's it, that would, where'd you pull that with county?
this was, that was,
That's a big, huge county, and they have a board of human service.
which is why I highlighted it. Was quite sure. Yeah.
I know in Fremont, the county commissioners need us. Services. So,
Because they've got a bigger
I
pool of human requirements. How many tents do you want to buy today?
Well, I do know we get the reports from the state all the time as to all the report cards for our human services department. So whether we have actually convened as that board or not, I guess we're acting as that. We're acting.
That's what I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of it actually.
We,
I don't know if it was not like an official.
See, Laura is our human services, and if it was required to have something added, we would act on it as commissioners to help it. But we don't have a board. And I think you have to statutorily, like we did a Board of Health, you gotta make a resolution to have them, what I understand.
I'm not immediately really.
To my knowledge, we don't serve as the Board of Human Services.
Right.
But we haven't, since we've been commissioners, we've never
Have the need,
sat as a Board of Human Services.
All the others true.
Yeah. We authorize liquor licenses.
what is a role? That I'm hung up on this term role. And is this coming from other counties like that? Is that how they look at it? I can't believe that. I mean, a role is different than. I mean, that encompasses several things, but. BOCC has authorities and we have responsibilities when we exercise those things. So I don't know. I don't mind leaving it in, it's just kind of. So our role is to. We have the authority to issue a liquor license, that's what we do. It's not a role.
I think role, purpose,
Maybe it's the same, maybe we're using them interchangeably.
our roles and purposes are gonna be dictated by our statutory requirements.
Our authorities and
Or authorities, yeah, right.
that's what it is. But that, if this is what everybody does, I'm good.
Well, I heard the first sentence talks more or less about necessarily statutory authority
We're just defining.
as, I mean, so you don't. There's role and then there's a statutory authority. And that first sentence there, the role of the board is to listen to, represent, and serve the citizens and taxpayers.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that.
As opposed to the authority.
Role is the right word.
In that case, it is.
Mhm.
So it's how we. That's true. But in that role, we have the authority to decide. We have the authority to provide policy, the authority to set policy, the authority to hire and fire, we have authority to tax, we have authority to.
And I see I guess I see rules as a part that the board plays and responsibilities and action that the board takes. So it's just, this is what we serve as, and this is what we serve to do.
Well, the
And so
response,
authorities would be kind of under the responsibilities. Or I guess authority.
no, authority is separate, that's a separate thing, we have authority. We are responsible when we execute those for those decisions we make, the authority we do, that's the point. A role is like you said, we sit there and listen, that's a role. It has nothing to do with authority. Okay, you just got, I guess we have to be careful. We have the authority to issue a liquor license.
But in doing so, we play a quasi judicial role.
That's right.
So, I mean,
A quasi judicial, not role necessarily.
no, that's,
Duty.
I will tell you, that's the
Duty,
term.
but that's what
the
they
term The
use.
court uses,
Yeah.
they will say that's your role.
That's right, that's a role. And we have the authority to be in that role.
In my mind, I think it's
Or the action.
fine just because we use the word,
Yeah.
we say the roles and responsibilities shall be in the list. And we don't define necessarily
What the authorities are. But that's okay, I think this, I like the fact that it says commissioner's roles up here and then get in examples of doing things. Okay.
And we've had a statement in here somewhere, I remember reading that we are specifically talking about. Well, there's a fine line between like this liquor licensing. That we're talking about the unincorporated portions of Custer County. Right. Towns do their own liquor license. Was there a statement before this?
Because the
I remember reading it, I just don't remember.
the
what it was.
introduction.
It was before this.
Okay, all right, good.
Well, they have their statutory authority.
Yeah, it's
That
the
we can't
second
interfere.
paragraph of the purpose.
All right, good.
It's just the governing the unincorporated areas.
And we've gotten into this conversation about. Was up earlier to. Subdivision regulations. We had people come to our meeting within the last 2 or 3 months, wanting to know if that meant
In the town.
that we were talking about subdividing land in the county or creating a subdivision. Two different things. Same words are used to describe both.
I mean, I think that I don't know that I agree that there are two different things. I think that it's just a matter of scale. Those two
Okay.
things.
So the conversation we got into was, we were considering allowing a ranch to be subdivided into 2 parcels. And people thought we were considering allowing them to create a subdivision for quote unquote cluster housing. Again, I think the term covers both, but our intent was not to, because we had a moratorium on subdivision.
Yeah, that was a mini subdivision.
So-
Yeah, it's minor versus.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about height restrictions? Are that towns aren't obligated to follow them? Or are they?
No,
That's a county, and because you could have a 10-story building in the city.
Generally speaking, when we're talking about land use code, that would be.
That's
That
right,
would be within the jurisdiction of
that's right.
the municipal.
So I would let that be the overarching theme here. They have their own rights that we can't infringe on.
good.
We're now more than halfway, we're now more than halfway through this
Section.
workshop.
And we
we're 5
want-
pages into the.
Right.
Yeah.
You took the airport back out of that list.
But it's still.
You can leave it. It didn't gonna hurt to leave it.
Okay. So we're done with roles and responsibilities. That'll go to responsibilities of the chair.
What page you on now?
6.
I got out of,
Bottom of 6.
got it.
I read through it, I didn't have any issues.
I didn't use.
Next.
Okay, Commissioners Code of Conduct.
This is where I have a couple of my very much, well, some minor changes. In that first bullet point, I took out A. Each commissioner acknowledges that it has.
Right,
Where you took out A,
you got A and put in, it has.
mine doesn't have an A and B, so.
No. It has a fiduciary and ethical
Oh,
responsibilities.
okay, I was looking for a bullet.
And
Okay.
then, the other change I had was to the, I think it's the first bullet on page 8. It's where we're talking about voting, um, where there's a conflict of interest. The state statute specifically provides that an elected official can vote when it's necessary in order to have a quorum or to enable the board. In other words, if there were just 2 of you here, and you had an issue with one of you had a conflict of interest, the statute allows the person with the conflict to vote on that particular topic, and I don't want to restrict your abilities as commissioners beyond what the statute allows. And this would do that.
Is there a caveat to that? Only if there's a tie or
Yes.
something like that?
Only if it's necessary to obtain a quorum or otherwise enable the board to act. And you have to first advise the other commissioners that you have a conflict of interest in what that conflict.
So if there were 2 people there, and one's sick, then you couldn't do it.
Well,
Because
that's
you
the
don't have
point
a
is that
quorum.
that's the point is that there's 2 people there and one's sick.
Then
Oh.
the guy with a conflict creates the quorum, so it's just 2 guys voting.
Right, and that's why, under that circumstance, the person with the conflict could vote.
Yeah.
Afternoon, sir.
You here to watch grass grow with us?
Yes.
Okay,
I think that those were my only 2 thoughts in that section.
a lot of bullets on that one. I didn't have anything marked on mine.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I apologize. The second bullet point. In that whole section where it says each commissioner must have loyalty. I don't even know what that means. I don't think it's worded correctly, but I think with everything else in there, I would just say we take that bullet point out, because I don't even know what the entire ownership is.
Okay, I'm lost.
And I don't know what any personal interest is.
Go back up on page 7.
Oh, page
Second
7.
bullet.
Okay, I was back up.
I did.
Sorry.
I'm going between the document that I edited earlier today and what's online, so.
So each commissioner must have loyalty to the entire ownership, unconflicted by loyalties to staff, other organizations.
So like,
Including,
somewhere someone took this out of some code of conduct for, CEOs and boards of directors of corporations.
Is this a mishmash of several of those?
This is mostly ours that we adopted.
Okay. And
There
that's
were
good.
some changes to, instead of the staff, it was changed to county
Yeah.
manager, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we went through the bullet on page 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Was that in that too? Because I thought we all the requirement to attend meetings, it's expected is the job. Is this redundant? I mean, it says because contemplation, deliberation, and decision making require collaboration. I don't know. It seems like we should cover that.
Second bullet first, because I'm with.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were.
So I think we ought to just take it out. So. That's my opinion. Kevin.
Second bullet on.
each
on that.
commissioner must have loyalty, so it's on
Seven.
page 7. Second bullet after commissioner's
Got
code of conduct. You good with that going away like it just did?
I don't have it.
So,
I mean, that's just what we do. Once the decision is made.
so
This is a code, well, he's calling it a board of conduct here. You can leave it in if you want.
So the second bullet, are you good with striking that second bullet?
Sure.
Okay,
Because again, I think everything that is suggested there is covered in all.
That's right.
And then you were speaking specifically to something on page 9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. I thought that was covered by the fact
It'll now be 4
that's a
down.
process. Oh, it's 4 down then.
Yeah,
It's
'cause we changed-
because, starts with
Oh.
Because contemplation, deliberation, and decision-making require collaboration and participation. BOCC members are expected to attend BOCC meetings.
Probably in the code of conduct, there you got it.
Well, it's in there already,
So
like 75% of the meeting. Oh, no, that's on board, sorry.
yeah, I'm okay leaving it in there. I just didn't want it to be repetitive.
Well, I think that's the section we're in. This is basically stating our code of conduct.
Hear me out and then digest it. What if the word because was taken out? Contemplation, deliberation, decision making requires collaboration, therefore BOCC members.
That's what I would do. That's exactly what I think would be because it's. This is just a statement that we recognize you gotta participate.
Good. You got a grasp on that. Okay.
You guys are good.
Yeah.
Braden's doing the first part of that sentence, you're doing the last part.
There you go.
All right.
Semicolon after participation. Instead of a comma.
It is,
Suggestion.
yeah, it is. When we're adding there before, it has to be similar. That's actually why I made that change, because I want to be grammatically correct.
Good.
That will let it be resolved.
Yeah. The rest of it.
Yeah,
Okay,
not voting on the breed.
all righty. That's all I was asking, is if you were ready to go to the next section. BOCC, executive connection. And county manager accountability.
Executive connection. Is that a word out of another policy somewhere?
But I think it makes sense if you read that paragraph, so I just want to make sure that.
That makes sense. So. So there's 3 titles here, and we did agree, we're talking about county manager. We need to say the others, because this is making a general statement. The county manager, we don't want to confuse it, we're not creating a chief executive office. What do you think?
Well, I think at a minimum, chief executive officer should be.
I don't think we need to say it. Because we've all agreed it's not a county administrator, it's a county manager that we're talking about.
So we just say its achievements and conduct will be through a county manager.
The county manager, or our county manager, or whatever it's. Is that right?
Yeah, I lost that argument a long time ago, so I'll stay out of it.
You want it to be administrator? But we've already crossed that bridge.
Yes.
That's what I just said. I just said, I've already lost that
I
argument.
didn't,
God forbid Anthony Wheeler comes back in here and ready to tell.
well, it says county manager on the title of this, so we gotta be consistent. It says county manager, didn't say.
So, Bill, the way I've edited it, it now reads, the board's sole official connection to the operation organization, its achievements and conduct will be through the county manager.
And if we'll get in the paragraph. That's 4 bullet points there.
So now we're in work committee principles.
Well, before we
The
move on,
bullets just before that,
Which book?
4 bullets. Under BOCC executive connection.
Right.
so I have an issue with bullet 3. The BOCC will view the county manager performance as identical to organizational performance. I think the county manager could stub his or her toe in an egregious manner, not tied to the organizational performance.
Or vice versa. The county manager might be innocent. And is doing a great job of doing things and then wasn't executing.
I don't have a problem with viewing the county manager performance tied to the organizational performance, but I think the county manager performance needs to be able to stand alone. Does that make sense?
Well,
Why don't we just take that out?
yeah, I'm good with that because a board can have its own view of how they're rating a guy.
Well, I don't like the concept that we had
Without-
default that as long as the county is doing well.
And then it's a boy, he could be screwing up all over the place.
Right.
You know, you may, you know.
You could fire him and everything's been doing well and you don't know why he did something else that screwed up. I like it going away.
It just did. Okay. Okay, so now the board committee principles. Did you have something on that? Because you were wanting,
No,
you just hoping we were kept moving.
I was
Okay,
I'm trying to,
Yeah,
I keep looking at the clock here.
I know it.
should it say BOCC appointed boards, committees and commissions, or is that an inherent understanding that that's who they belong to?
No, I said understood that we established, we have county boards and committees, and then you're referring to them as. You don't need to repeat it.
Say that in the first bullet. Right.
Okay.
The wrong way.
Good. Good.
Okay,
It's a highlighted thing on page 11.
well, the bullet point that's highlighted on page 11, are you highlighted there?
Yeah.
It'll be the bullet point
It's on
starting.
12 on my page.
We don't
You
have.
should,
That's because everything moved up. Are
okay,
you talking about boards and commissions of con?
any member of a BOCC appointed board and its highlighted boards and commissions code of conduct.
We don't have that. It may be in the individual bylaws, but at the county, we don't have that.
So the only commission we have is the planning commission. They don't have a board of conduct.
Can we just take that out?
Okay.
So. Any member of the BOCC appointed board, right? That's the paragraph we're working on. You part of follow applicable law, board policies and. The rising resolution. Is there a period after that? Yeah, okay. Right, okay, good. Not sure resolutions need to be capitalized there, but.
I think they need to be capitalized. Don't you, Dan? I mean, that's a resolution. It's not a resolution. It's a law.
I don't know that it needs to be capitalized because we're not talking about specific.
Yes, yes.
We're
The
talking
resolution.
about a resolution that was specific.
Yeah, I guess that was.
Manage your operations and limitations. Any problems, any adds, subtractions?
Well, when I first read it, I got hung up on non-negotiable.
What, where, oh, the first 2, 3 words.
If we mention non-negotiable expectations, then I'm assuming they're listed somewhere.
All the following sections.
I think I agree with you in part because one of the things that I had understood that we would be doing as we proceed in the next year or two, is essentially figuring a lot of this out.
Develop this.
And by definition, that's negotiable. I mean, it's not, you know,
Yeah, you're negotiating.
here's what your benefits are.
We can't do this, even though we would like to, because we said it was not negotiable.
Yeah. And,
Um,
everything's negotiable.
You just do away.
Yeah, just get rid of the word.
define the expectations and boundaries. And just take the rest of it out.
Find both the expectations and clear boundaries within the county.
So it now reads, these policies define the expectations and boundaries within which the county manager must operate.
Yeah.
Everybody good there?
Say it again, expectations was left in, or it was just clear boundaries?
It's in.
These policies define the expectations and boundaries within which the county manager must operate.
Okay,
Treatment of citizens, taxpayers, staff, and volunteers.
Good. Except,
There's a typo on
Yeah.
page
I
12.
guess I'm good except for that typo.
Ensure staff is acquainted with.
Right.
And that was, I had that highlighted on mine as well.
Oh, I see.
Except then I pulled up the Google Doc and I didn't have my highlighted copy.
Yeah, that's right.
Next to the last bullet on 12. Delete the word "to."
So ensure staff is acquainted with personnel policies and procedures.
said the next to last bullet of the whole thing.
Or page, just on page 12. Yeah.
Well, it's not probably page 12.
No, I know, that's why I'm trying to give me the sentence.
It's a sub bullet of versus pertaining to paid staff within the scope of this
Yeah.
authority. It's the second bullet below that.
Oh, ensure staff is acquainted with personnel policy. Ensure staff are acquainted.
So we're leaving is, but we're taking out two. I believe is what.
Ensure staff. Get rid of two, and you want to say are acquainted, don't you?
Well,
Staff
staff
is still
singular here as a group, singular group.
Staff are acquainted with staff. Members or it would be,
Okay,
okay,
above that staff operate. So that would be the world.
yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, that too is a bad thing.
Operates.
Yeah, if you added the word "the staff," we both of those, or all three of those, but it's okay.
We haven't
I
defined
think
what staff
grammatically
is.
is fine.
What is the staff?
Paid staff.
Well, what is it? Is it department head? What is the staff?
Anybody who works for the county.
Well, no, there's a motor grade operators.
That, but it says staff within the scope of his authority.
Oh,
So by
yeah.
definition.
Okay, so it's not, it would be
Would
the
be
department
elected
heads.
Right.
Or whatever they are. Interesting.
Okay, so we've got ensure the staff. On all three of those bullets now.
Good with the rest of it.
And the staff only exercise authority over the staff. So now we're going to move to compensation, benefits, employment.
And we're just talking about the county manager here, right?
Correct. Matter of fact, maybe we ought to make that header.
No,
clear.
no, we're talking about his ability to make promises to individuals who hire. His or her ability to. What can I say, and limits his or her ability to essentially enter into contracts. And contracts with the board. That's what that.
So his or her refers to the county manager.
We're.
Comply, first bullet under compensation benefits.
Well, that that deals specifically with his or her benefits, but the rest of these. We're frankly
Okay.
promising.
Yes.
Time permanent or guaranteed.
Okay,
So back up then, I think the header of this whole section, instead of saying manager operations, it ought to be county manager operations and limitations. And all this
Yeah.
is referring to
Just
X,
clears that up. That's good.
clears it up, so you know what, you don't have to ask what's.
That has been added.
Typically, stuff gets added before we quit talking about
I
it.
know.
That's how it's.
It's like Tinkerbells in the room. With a magic wand.
Yeah, I like when you're adding the county manager shall. Yeah. So. And then third bullet on page 13. I think between the words unless and exception is given. Or exceptions are given.
That is under compensation benefits and.
Third bullet in that.
Third bullet, okay.
Under accordingly, it says.
Establish compensation and benefits that align materially. Right,
Yes. And so
oddly
that,
enough, it's on 13 on my page. then.
so.
Did I say page 12?
No, you
Page
said 13.
Okay.
So that now reads on the last half of that, unless an exception is given by the BOCC.
And
And
from Wetmore, it sounds like,
I live on the creek.
that's fine. You're welcome to live on the creek, but make sure it's and instead of un.
And they eat
It's your
potatoes,
creek.
they eat potatoes for
Yeah.
supper. Okay,
But unless exception is given, I mean, either way, it's correct. Better get it.
okay, are we good with those
Mhm.
set of bullets now? Financial planning and budget,
I bet it portion.
Ensures fund balance stays above 10%.
We don't have a policy that's, nor have we talked about a policy like this. I brought that up when we started looking at fund balances, strategy of fund balances last year. But we never really have landed on something like that, so I think we just.
We need to delete that. This is not.
Yeah, delete it.
time To have that
No, and
conversation.
by law, we're required not to go negative. So by law, we keep a reserve. And by law, we could say how much is that, and then we could translate it into fund balances later, what that means.
The reason I left is because I think it would be something good to have in, but.
Right.
But it's a policy that I think.
It's a.
if we don't have the
It
policy
certainly would be
in place.
something to be popping on the electorate. Or on the public.
But- But
as-
the county manager is responsible to execute it, so it doesn't have to be here. The
Right,
fact that he has to operate policies for us covers.
my point is the fact that you guys have already had some discussion about it. Wouldn't. I don't think it's a good idea to start
No.
enacting new policies. Kind of hidden in the middle of this. Thing that. Affect
Keep it
people
generic.
interact with the manager.
Okay.
So the first bullet on page 14,
So did we strike that before you read?
yeah,
It is gone.
when you tie that first bullet with the accordingly statement, I think the word ensure needs to be plural. Because a budget that allows financial planning that aligns with the board, ensures stability and is right.
I think you just get rid of accordingly, Tom, and just said the county manager shall, because it's just stating the fact that first sentence does, and the next one gives the the actions. You don't need accordingly on there,
He was talking about the first folder.
but he
We
said,
used the accordingly throughout. That's how we started each of these. So
well, we got rid of one of them,
Mm-mm.
what we did back here.
And that would require a pretty sale to you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I just think insurers, that's okay, or what you have, it, so I'm good.
That's all right, I'm good.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
Okay, so that first bullet, now has insurers with an S.
Yeah, there's a lot of S's in there. And would follow the county purchasing would be follows the county purchasing. You're gonna have to put plurals wherever you need to. Shall follow, shall refrain, shall expand.
Planning that. Municipalities.
I'm lost.
How about establishes? I'm just looking like you said, accordingly to shall, so your shall expand. First bullet, shall pay the second bullet, shall refrain the third.
Were you in a different section?
No, I'm on. Yeah, 13 and 4. Oh,
Financial planning and budget.
finance, I'm sorry. I was looking at the other shall.
Okay, so we're on financial
That
planning and
follows.
budget.
Yeah, there you go. I'm there.
I'm good.
Yeah, you got all the S's. I was looking for the S's. I found them. Then, wait a minute, does it submit quarterly reports? Would that be submits quarterly financial reports and posts? Appropriate fund?
Where you at?
I'm on the. Dang, can't keep me straight. Shows, okay, we're good. I'm good. I flipped the page.
Okay. Well, we'll go on down to that one then, fiscal management and controls.
No, shouldn't have.
Right, they should not have
I
that.
can see your confusion.
You see, yeah,
Accordingly, the county manager shall. County obligation.
I don't have any changes in that section.
I didn't see.
Maybe not either.
No, I'm good.
Right, protection of assets.
Can we roll that down one?
Yeah.
Thank you. Whoever did that, Greeny did, oh,
He was fast.
Greeny, you're purple or green?
I'm green.
You're green, okay. Matches your shirt today, I'll remember that. Oh. And then just as a grammatical thing, second to the last bullet. Refrain from exposing the county government, the BOCC or staff. I don't know.
I think it's fine without.
The government's okay, okay. County government.
Refrain from exposing county government, the BOCC or staff. Claims of liability.
I got a quick one, Dan, just a general ask. Did you finish that thought?
Yeah, go ahead.
On, we're always, the word refrain to me is allows you to make a mistake. Why aren't we saying the county manager will not accept revenues, will not incur long-term debt, will not? What's magic about refrain? It just seems to be more direct if you make it actionable. I mean, refrain is,
I thought refrain was not allowed to do it. Shall not.
it is, but it's a more.
It's a gentler way of saying.
It's a gentler way of, if you really want to make sure that it follows it, you will not do this.
So I think there are some points where it makes some sense. Like refrain from exposing the county government to claims of liability.
You can't help
In
some,
the end,
to some that'll happen with
that
that,
may just happen.
right? So that's why
But
others, you've got to be more,
shall not allow unbonded.
right? Then that lays it down where he can take a very hard stay and say,
So I'm gonna suggest that should be changed to instead of refrain from allowing to not allow.
Right, not allowed. There's several others that would probably need to be that way too. Because there's some that could accidentally
Oh,
act
because
out of his control.
Sorry, I'm in my.
Oh, you didn't see it happen. You wouldn't. Wait for you to
I'm
do
in two
your.
documents, I mean, the word
Yeah.
document and then I'm saying,
So second bullet, yeah, it should be, there you go. Dan, is there an? That second bullet now reads not allow an unbonded personnel access. Not allow unbonded personnel to. Should that have two access? Not allow unbonded personnel access. Did you know that reads right?
Right.
Anything else there? Protection of assets? You good, sir?
Yes.
We'll move to communications with and support of the BOCC.
And I just have, I don't even know if I have the change just, but the third to last bullet point.
Determine the agenda.
Yeah, I want to make it clear that each commissioner can add anything they want to it, and I don't want to limit the commissioner's ability to add something to the agenda of your own meetings.
I printed a few earlier.
And the way it's written, it's kind of like you have to ask the manager. So
Right.
on the agenda. I don't know. That's-
Oh, you can get it on there. As long as it meets the 24-hour deal.
Yeah, I'm a little buggered by the word determined here. Determine and set are really the same thing in my thinking.
Where are you looking?
Same bullet
Same
we were
bullet.
just talking about. Determine the agenda. I don't think. Before I say something stupid, let me go back to the,
Finally.
I don't think the county manager would determine or set the agenda for the commissioners. I think the commissioners do that.
That we prepare the agenda for meetings.
I will,
County manager can determine. You'll have a set agenda,
right,
but
but
then there are things that can be added.
I'm thinking in terms of. A lot of this, I could equate with, say, an executive director of a special district. Who puts together the agenda for the board of directors of that special district. Any of the directors can say, no, I want to have this, this, and this on that agenda as well, but. I wanna. I mean, in the end, the county manager would be the one to put that together. And kind of the same.
Say
Here are
finalize.
the things we've got to.
Maybe it's
consider.
finalizing it with.
I think I understand what you're saying. I just don't agree with it. I think prepare the agenda. Or. I don't know. It would be the same as Kelly, for example, in her role. She's been doing our agenda, but she doesn't determine the agenda. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As an example.
We
I'm not
adopt the
saying they're
agenda.
the same thing, but.
And this is more for Bill's benefit, the way I have it now. I have it as prepare the agenda for meetings, and then in parentheses, any commissioner is welcome to add any item to a meeting agenda by its timely and informing.
Sure.
May, why don't you say May instead of,
May where.
right,
May
read
add
it again.
any item.
Read it instead of is
May,
welcome,
yeah,
don't
that's-
say
I
is
see what
welcome.
you said.
May add.
So now it's prepare the agenda for meetings, parentheses, any commissioner may add any item to a meeting agenda by timely.
So probably ought to have a conversation about that, right? Because is that not part of the county or the BOCC clerk's job is to do exactly what we're talking about?
I don't know, we haven't made a decision on what the difference, what those duties are. Is he supposed to prepare them or is somebody?
But generally speaking,
Well, the thing is, you're putting so much of the administrative responsibility into this person's hat. And a lot of the time. Something that needs to be addressed by the board may not know until the agenda is developed. And that's kind of the point of the county manager is to,
Come up.
all right, here are the things that we've got. to
That he's
discuss.
seeing.
I need your input, or she, that I need
Or
your
she.
input.
right,
That's right.
but I think my point is historically, Kelly. Isn't your job as clerk of the board to prepare the agenda and you delegated that responsibility to the administrative assistant in the past?
Statute says.
Yes, until I found out that it's not a statute. The agenda is, the minutes and stuff
Okay.
are, and so then that's when I said it would be better
Okay.
for you guys.
So standard
For
practice.
your
different.
administrative.
That's right, that's what happened.
Here, the.
And we're saying by default here that we're gonna pass that on to the county manager.
Yeah.
Who probably would have the administrative assistant prepare the agenda. Correct.
Okay. And it's still,
It would probably end up looking the same.
I like the wording the way it is, after we've changed it.
Which Tinkerbell put in a May, right?
Yeah.
Prepare the agenda for
Let's
meeting.
not make that my nickname.
No. Well, you're both Tinkerbell.
Today he's greeny. Who decides that? or how that comes out there.
Okay, and then finalize meeting agenda. And provide commissioner committee agenda with packet at least 4 days before any scheduled BOCC meeting. Sometimes, so we probably need that 4 days and then with any additional changes. Would be,
Right, and what about posting? Do we want language in here about that? I'd say finalize and post the meeting agenda.
I don't think you need the word finalize. Just gonna take input and post an agenda.
I made a suggestion change to that next paragraph. And,
Well, that covers it.
sorry. You're still on that. I can go with it.
so we do have like the second to last bullet point now is reading at this. Time finalize and post meeting agendas within the required time frame. Is that good?
We gotta have it posted in there for sure.
Yeah.
So, final bullet point, provide commissioners and other interested county officials with meeting agendas and packets at least 4 days.
In particular, I was thinking of the two people this table.
Okay. Everybody good with those?
If we're gonna live by it, if we're not gonna live by it, let's not put it in there,
I want you to live by it, so I put it in there.
because rarely do we have that 4 days before a meeting.
All we gotta do is not put it on
And
there.
it's nobody's fault, it's just the way we operate.
Isn't that kind of one of the points of why the board adopted a county manager is to start having that kind of efficiency?
I'm certainly not against it. It'd be great if that happens, yeah.
We're not living by the county manager. He's providing it for us.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's just make sure we do it.
I would say if we make changes to it in the next 2 days after that, that's not on him, that's on us.
Right.
Anything coming from the outside would need to be here 4 days prior. Probably then.
Of course, we've always got that safety net unless otherwise approved by the chair.
Okay. Appendix. All policies instructing the county manager, county attorney will be Board County Attorney will be monitored at a frequency and by the method chosen by the BOCC. The BOCC may monitor any policy at any time by any method, but will ordinarily depend on the following routine schedule.
So before we dive too deep into that, is there a reason we're using the word monitor instead of evaluate? Because to me, they're two different things. And if monitor stays, then when do we evaluate? Monitor to me means watch from day to day or meeting to meeting or month to month. What about formal evaluations? And was that the intent? I don't know, maybe I was misreading that. Thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Taking attorney, that's.
So which book? Because there's a couple monitoring things going on.
I think maybe
I think we're past the bullet points down to the appendix.
monitoring each of these policies.
We've got monitoring up here, so then monitoring reports.
There would be.
Okay,
evaluations as
sorry.
well.
Yes, I was thinking of job performance evaluation.
This is just the,
All policies will be monitored. My mistake. Yep, you don't want constraint in there, do you?
These are just,
I don't know, I'm not totally sure if that.
I'm not even sure what does that even do?
I don't know.
Advantage or constraint,
I
and
remember
it's all NA, I don't know what that line even says.
I don't know why we had this. appendix.
If there was any policies pertaining to the county manager, right?
I mean, you can have
I
that.
kind of read that as the overall evaluation, but I can see that. not needing-
I mean, this is something that will develop as we go.
We're not evaluating,
Huh?
That top line went away.
we're not evaluating the county manager here, we're evaluating the policy.
Why do we have this at all? Why do we need it? The appendix. As we go along, we're gonna be coming up with things that we're gonna ask for.
I read this as this is monitoring the performance of the county manager based on these specific.
Oh,
policies.
okay, so.
Based on the
Different.
criteria that were put forth earlier in this document.
So what
So
you
that-
just said is different than what?
That's exactly right,
We piecemeal evaluate the county manager.
right. That's
Probably,
because the
yeah.
front one that we got rid of said we're doing a rating based on performance.
Right, but we're only evaluating his contribution in the fourth quarter, but his protection of assets in the second quarter.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Or, I guess I saw that as a more tolerable evaluation as opposed to maybe like a 1 day evaluation. This is a little chunk at a time. I go ahead, sorry.
I don't, I mean, just from a personal perspective.
I would take this out.
I don't. necessarily-
yeah, I think I would too. I don't have a problem with a statement that says, county manager. If we need a statement in here, but I don't even think we do. Somewhere earlier it was that the county manager will be evaluated by the BOCC.
We had that up front, then, right?
Yeah, so let's just.
To get this out.
We did.
It's gone. So we now
We're
have
not
17
talking about it
pages.
yet, it's already gone.
So
I'm good.
are you good, sir?
We got all of our changes saved.
I believe so.
Move adjourn. No, we don't. You have to do that. Sorry. That would include voting, so.
Yeah, we're not voting, he's adjourning the meeting.
Yeah,
Workshop's done.
Everybody good? So I will adjourn this workshop at 2:00.